typical thing about mandala, which is the circular essence of the work. Now, what does that mean? It means that no matter what the periphery of my work is, no matter what the outer shape of my work is, be it a maple leaf, be it the turban, be it a star, be it a triangle, be it anything or everything, a leaf for that matter, it doesn't matter. What matters is the circular essence of your work. Okay. Think of this like a pizza. If you take one slice of pizza, it still is a pizza, right? It is not that it is something else. Think of it in that manner. So if you just make half a circle and then mandala inside, will that still be a mandala? Yes, it will be. But what is this word that we are repeatedly using? So basically, mandala is derived from the Sanskrit word called mandal. Requesting all to not unmute yourselves. So mandala is derived from the Sanskrit word called mandal. The word mandal itself means circle. It is an art form which is a depiction of us in the universe. Requesting everybody not to unmute yourselves, please.
Bhamini ma'am, please unmute yourself. I have just disabled their unmuting rights. Try it now. Still not. Just one second. Now, what's happening?
Thank you.
I was giving the rights to the other, like the ID.
No
I'm
worries.
really sorry.
No problem. So it is more like us in the universe, where you can think of this as us as a part of the universe, or you can think of it as something wherein you are looking for the answer within. You are lost in that universe and you're looking for something which is within you. So mandala is said to be a journey which is inward, a journey where you introspect. And which is why I told you, think of this like a mindful activity where you're not going to let any other thought enter your mind. It is always on a positive note. Now, there are three features or three fundamental characteristics that help us identify a piece of mandala. And the three things are, you can use a rough sheet also if you want to take down notes. And once again, requesting all of you to switch on your cameras. So one point where the painting conceives or the painting originates. This one point can be here, 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 anywhere. It is not necessary that it has to be in the center. Maybe you can think of it as, there's a triangle, and at one corner of the triangle, one edge or one angular point, you can think of this as the place where your painting originates. That is also correct. Think of an umbrella and the starting point of the umbrella. There you have started making the concentric circles, or that is the point where the painting originates. Think of it in terms of a flower, wherein one petal of the flower, you are starting the mandala altogether. So the starting point can be anywhere, but it has to have one starting point. Second, repetition. The repetition can be of one single design also, or it can be of a group of designs also. But repetition around that origin, point of origin, has to be there. And the third thing is, it is something which is always going to have a circular essence. So no matter what, circular essence will always be there. Okay. Now, if this is true, then I can also think of it in terms of, I'm painting something where I'm drawing a cartoon character, for example. And I'm drawing it in a way that it is all circular, repeated, and there is one point of origin. Does it mean that it is a mandala? It's a question to all of you. Does it mean that this is a mandala? So I'm drawing the cartoon character. There is one point of origin. You are placing the cartoon character in a circular manner. So, of course, there is repetition happening. All the 3 points or 3 characteristics are being fulfilled. Is this a mandala? Yes, no? Since I can't see anybody on the camera, I don't know your answer. So you will have to speak on the in the chat box itself. Yes, no? Sukriti says a no. Okay. Sampada says a no. Okay. Neha, yes. Suman, no. Okay. Why did I ask you this question? So basically, if I arrange them in a circular manner, it is just a doodle that you have done in a circular fashion. It's nothing more than that. So if it's the cartoon character, why is this happening? So you would always question, why is this that we have followed all the three things, all the three rules, and it is still not a mandala? It has to have something about it, right? So what differentiates it from the rest of the forms is the intrinsic value or the value / meaning associated with every single stroke that you use. A mandala is always something which is bound to be on the positive side, bound to be something that talks about the philosophical side of life. It is something that always encourages you, something that always talks about positivity in life. So a mandala without a meaning is nothing. It's just a doodle art arranged in a circular manner. And why should you know this? Because if you don't know this thing, you wouldn't know that there are some fundamental patterns that you actually follow in mandala. And if you don't know that, you will always do some sort of henna design in a mandala, and you wouldn't even realize that this is not a mandala that you are drawing. Okay, which is why knowing this thing is absolutely important. So how do we proceed after this? Tanya, you can change the spotlight for us now. So
Yes.
what we will do is, thank you. So what we will do is,
Ma'am, just 1 second. Guys, can you please confirm, is the screen visible to everyone, like the workstation? Oh, thank you so much.
is this fine now?
Perfect, perfect.
Okay, thank you so much. So here you have a rough sheet, and here this is your final sheet. What kind of paper should you be using? I'm going to use a paper which is a little thick. Why? Because you are going to use a compass. If it's a flimsy paper, it is going to mark a hole in the center, which is why don't use a flimsy paper. Use something which is thick. What does thick mean? It means use a paper which is 180 GSM plus. For today, it's absolutely okay. You can use any kind of paper, completely fine. But when you're practicing this later, keep this in mind. You can take a pen or a pencil and write down fundamental patterns. And once again, requesting all of you to switch on your cameras. Trust me, it motivates me as a teacher. When I see your expressions, and I can actually understand from your expressions what you are doing and where you're facing problems. Thank you so much. Okay. So we will start off with number 1, which is dot. What is dot? It can be the point of origin also. It can be the point of destination also. It is the starting point and the ending point. And also you use dot to symbolize focus or concentration. Okay, you can write it down, focus / start or end. Number 2, the most frequently used pattern in a mandala, which is something without which mandala is incomplete, which is a circle. Now, a circle is something which does not have a starting point or an ending point, right? It is something which is more like a cycle, something that just continues, something which gives you a sense of freedom, a sense of space, something that tells you that, it is something which can't be restrained, something which can't be changed. There is a sense of liberation here, sense of liberty and freedom here. And this is something which is also symbolic of abundance. In other words, when you are using a circle, you are using it to showcase or to symbolize soul. So every time you are using a circle in mandala, you are using it to showcase the concept of soul. In the world of mandala, unlike other art forms, nothing is on the negative side. Okay. Now there is one shape that we quite frequently use in mandala, which is a spiral, which can be on the clockwise direction or it can be in the anti-clockwise direction. But at the end, it is one point of origin and there is movement. this thing, movement, this movement is important. There is no life without movement, and this is what it says. So no matter whether you are moving towards your goal or you are moving as if something has happened and you are taking 2 steps back just to figure out your life, all of this is fine, but movement has to be there. So if you have ever tried mandala before, you would have noticed that this shape is very common, right? One going on the left side and one on the right side. Why? Because this thing where you are using clockwise and anti-clockwise, it is the symbol of life, the ups and downs of life. While clockwise direction says that no matter what, I will continue my journey. I will not stop. And the anti-clockwise, this says that, okay, there has been something wrong. Maybe there has been a roadblock or something, and I'm taking a step back. I'm figuring out life. But both of these things are a part of life, the ups and downs of it, which is why you use this so frequently in mandala. Now, another one that you quite often use is lotus. Lotus petal. Why lotus? If anyone here has seen a lotus bloom, you would have noticed that it doesn't matter what is there around it. It still rises and shines, and it does that for itself. This is a virtue that we have to learn from a lotus. Now, of course, there are other meanings associated like peace and like the sense of, purity and so on. All of these things are fine. But in the practical life, if you have to apply the concept that you learn from it, or how do you get inspiration from it, if you see a lotus bloom, you will always find that despite its surroundings, it always rises and shines, right? Now, this is what you take as an inspiration. Whatever things that you have drawn till here, you can't use them. Please repeat. Okay. So this portion, basically, we are saying that despite the surroundings of a lotus, it does not get disturbed by its surroundings. It doesn't say that my surrounding isn't good and I will refuse to shine, or I'll refuse to, bloom. It doesn't say that. And if you have noticed, it still rises, and in fact, it can kind of, stands out from its surroundings actually. So that is the kind of, it's a beautiful inspiration for us, for all of us, right? And that's a virtue that we learn from lotus. Now, all the things, I hope that answered your question, Isha. So out of all the things that you are learning here, you will not be able to apply this thing in a standalone manner. You don't just do a straight, just a spiral as a design. No, you take this as a fundamental pattern, convert this into a design, and then use it in a mandala. For example, if I want to use a lotus petal as a core shape, I can make a few changes here and there. These are just variations of my of my lotus petal. At the end, what you are drawing is just a lotus petal, maybe a little steep, maybe a little flat, but all of these are inspired by the same thing. So your fundamental shape remains the same, and then you have variations of it. Same thing here. Fundamental shape remains as spiral, and then you have variations of it. How do you connect it back? Again, how do you connect it back? Again, this is your spiral. How do you connect it back? And so on and so forth. These are just variations or designs that you make out of the fundamental shape. Same thing, circle, semicircle. It is just a variation of circle. Elongated semicircle. This is also just a another variation of circle, right? And you do use these things in your mandala. Now, I was saying that there is nothing on the negative side when it comes to mandala, because all the things that you do here, it is in a way you are training yourself to look at the brighter side. Okay. So if that is the case, in general, in a generic circumstance, if I have to draw a line, I would assume that this is saying there's some sort of partition. There's some sort of difference that I'm kind of trying to pitch in. Now, this is another thing and this is another thing. But here in this art form, even if it is a line that you are drawing, it says, be it the vertical line, horizontal line, or the slanting line, it says it is some sort of convergence. If it is a horizontal line, It says it is a convergence of the eternal world and the physical world. In other words, from this, what do you learn? It is the convergence or the balance of the physical health and the mental health. When it is a vertical line, what does it say? It says the balance or the convergence of all your energies. So basically, all of us do have a lot of sides of us. For example, I love to cook, and at the same time, I love to paint, and at the same time, I love to maybe talk, and maybe I love like the company of my friends. All of these things are different energies, right? You would need to find a balance where all of these energies converge, and that is a good state of life. So this is what it refers to. And a slant line basically refers to the balance of this and this. Basically, a slant line is something that talks about balance in general. So what you have to focus on is the fact that there is a line. It means that there is convergence of something happening. It can be on the physical and mental health level. It can be on the energies level, but there is a balance that you are trying to find with the convergence that is happening. Okay. Now, another beautiful thing that we do use here is shapes that are inspired by nature. What does that mean? For example, leaf shape. You can call this as leaf. You can call this also as gem. Petal shape. Drop shape. From petal, you can use this shape. You can use this shape. You can use this shape. These are all inspired by nature. Why nature? Nature is a part of us and we are a part of nature. So how can we include, how can we not include this thing when we are learning about mandala, right? And that's what we are trying to do. One specific meaning that you should be knowing is a drop that you, Divya, please avoid doing that. So one important thing that you would want to know here is the meaning of drop shape. So what is this? Basically, a drop that we draw in mandala signifies being humble. It is a symbol of humility. And it says that no matter what you learn, no matter how much you learn, it will still be like a drop from the ocean. So a drop says a drop of water from the ocean of knowledge. And which is why being humble is a virtue to learn. Okay. Now, rest of the things, as and when we get it, we come across that, we will look at it. This is a good cheat sheet for you. If you want, you can take a screenshot of this. I'll just zoom out a little bit. Take a screenshot of this. It is a good information. You can give a thumbs up if you have done this. Or let me know in the chat box if you have completed it here. Sure, Sarah, Isha, Neha, okay. Sakshi, all right. I'm assuming everybody else. Okay, perfect. All of you are responding now. So I'm keeping the sheet beside, and I'm going to my final sheet, where the process that we are going to follow is, using this learning, we will apply the concept in a mandala, for which we are going to first make the grid, G-R-I-D, grid. What is a grid? A grid means the reference points that you create so that there is symmetry in your work. What should be the size? I'm making an 8 centimeter diameter mandala only so that we are able to complete this on time. And I'm reducing it by 0.5 centimeter to make rest of the circles inside. I'm not following any proper measurement. It is an approximation, and I can expect that you will also do the same thing, because otherwise it becomes too much of time taking process and you don't really enjoy it. So go with approximations. That's a better approach. And also, I'm aware that the screen is getting a little blurred right now. It is okay. I'll just remove my hand. It's going to be fine. Allow me 30 seconds. It should be fine. I started with 8. Yes, I started with 8 as diameter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 concentric circles, and the distance between these is 0.5 centimeter. Is this the only way in which you proceed? No. This is one of the ways. When you're making your grid, you can make it in a random manner also. You can make it in an incremental or a decremental manner also. So increasing or decreasing manner also. The central part can be dense and this part can have more gap, or this part can be dense and the central part can have more gap. 4 centimeter radius, yes. Both are fine. And you can also take it in a way that it need not be the same centimeter, the same distance every time. It can be an absolutely random grid also. It depends on what is the look and feel that you want. I usually prefer making a random grid because it gives us more opportunity for exploring the creativity part, and you don't have to really go by any rules and regulations. Okay. How many circles do you usually make? It depends on how big the size of your mandala is and how intricate work you want to do. If the size of my mandala is more, the number of circles will also increase. And also, if I want to make something really, really, really intricate, I would increase the number of concentric circles. The second step is you have to divide it into equal parts, which means you have to make angles. When it comes to making angles, there are many ways of doing it. One easy way of going about it, and I'm assuming not everybody is from art background, so we will go by the shortcut here, or the easiest possible way of going forward. So what we will do is we will divide it into equal portions just by using the scale. Okay. So by using a scale, I'm first going to mark the central line. What does that mean? Draw a line, 0.5 centimeter. Draw a line passing through the center. You have the center, a line passing through the center. 0.5 centimeter as a distance and 8 centimeter is the outermost diameter, which means 4 centimeter is the radius. You can take this as 4, 4.5 or 5 also. All of this is okay. It can be more on approximation. So mine is, I think, around 8.5, 8 or 8.5. It is an approximation that I've taken. So I'm drawing my first line here via the center. Keep this really, really light because you want this only for yourself, not as something which is a part of your painting. The grid that you are making is only for your reference, which is why keep this as light as possible. What do you do after this? Right now, you have divided your circle into 2 parts. Tanya, if you could just handle the conversation section.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
So I want this to be further divided. What does it mean? So right now you have made these concentric circles and you have divided it into 2 parts, right? I want this division in a way that there is 90 degree. If you want to make 90 degree here, take your scale, pick any of these lines that you see here, keep it at the center in a way that one of these lines fall on the existing line. This automatically will give you 90 degree. This automatically will give you 90 degree. Exactly on the center with any of these lines falling on the existing baseline. Isha, if you're confused, you can ask. Confused, right? No? Okay, all right. So, so basically what we did is we made the circle here. You made the first line passing through the center. For the second line that you have made here, you took your scale in a way that you picked any of these lines. Say I picked line number 7. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to place my scale on the center in a way that it falls, this line falls exactly on the existing line so that it gives me 90 degree. Okay. And then you remove it. Right now you have 4 equal divisions. Is this sufficient for you? Maybe, may not be. It might be sufficient if your designs are really broad, but right now, in the current circumstance, it is not sufficient. So what you are going to do is, you are going to pick any of these concentric circles. Say I pick this one. Why a smaller one? Because it is easier to handle. The smaller ones are easier to handle, which is why I took a smaller one here. Look at this line, the circle. Try to identify the center point. This is my center point. Look at this one. Try to identify the center point. This appeals, this is a center point for me. Do it as an approximation, no need for measurements. Pick any, forget about the lower side. Don't even worry about the lower side. The upper side, pick one quadrant at a time. Say I pick the left one first. Any concentric circle, try to locate the center point. Dot, done. Same thing on the right hand side. Locate the center point, dot, and done. Why are you doing this? Because you want to further divide this into smaller parts so that you have more scope of making your symmetric designs. Now I place my scale exactly on the center in a way that it touches the dot that I had made, and I will take a pause. I will see if things look equal or not. This section and this section, do they look equal? If yes, I will mark it here, and the same thing I'm going to do on the other side also. Keep it really, really light because this is only for your reference, not a part of the painting. Okay. Is this sufficient for you? Maybe, may not be. So it is sufficient in the current circumstance because my design is going to be not so intricate, and it is sufficient for me to use these reference points. But if you're planning to make something extremely intricate, repeat the exercise. Once my grid is ready, I will then start working on the designs. Now, keep your sheet also right beside. Look at design number 2. It is a circle, right? From the circle, you can make semicircles, correct? So I'm going to pick one from the semicircle design and repeat the exercise on all the on all the sides. Make sure you are taking the best use of making the best use of symmetry here, of your reference grid here. Keep it symmetric. I'm using a micron pen. It is a fine liner. The nib size that I'm using is 0.5. Pigma micron, the nib size is 0.5. Basically, any kind of fine liner is good for mandala. These are basically art pens. Good for mandala or good for anything where you need intricate work. We will continue this. There are two ways in which we can proceed. It can be all your, one layer completed and then you move to the second layer. And you can also just make the outer designs first and then move to the intricate detailing. We are going to make the outer designs first and then the intricate detailing. Once my first outer layer is done, I'm going to club 3 sections together. 1, 2, and 3. Mark a dot here so that you can make a lotus petal here. Now, while I have to come back, while I have to make the other section here, I will not do it. Why? Because I want to make an overlap design. So how would I do it? I will repeat the same exercise and the same exercise and the same. We could have come back and finished it off there itself, but there is less fun in that. So we are making an overlap design. Now come back. What did we do? We started from left side. We finished the left side of the entire grid, and then we just connected the right side. How to draw the petals part? Basically, you have this grid. You worked only on the left hand side first, and then on the right hand side, you just connected them back. Now do a double lining here. The entire set that you have created, do a double line. And while you're working on the double line, you can just hear me out in the background. So there are three broad categories in mandala. You can just hear me out and continue doing your work. You just have to do a double line here. And the double line that you are doing is done so that the designs don't get merged into each other. That's the only reason. There are three broad categories in mandala: teaching, healing, and sand. Teaching, healing, and sand. S-A-N-D, sand. What is teaching mandala? As the word suggests, teaching mandala is all about using the concept of mandala, but the agenda is that it is used for imparting a philosophy, knowledge, or you have to teach, you have to preach or teach or convey an idea or an understanding or a viewpoint or any kind of concept. And for that, you are using the concepts of mandala. For example, Surya Namaskar. That is one such example of teaching mandala. Okay. Before I move to the other part, make sure you have done the fine tuning very well here. Connect the lower part properly here. See everything is fine before moving to the next part. Okay. Before we go to the other section, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add one more division to it so that we can make our designs in this part. And the overlap becomes a little more clear. Okay, now while you continue working on this, you can just hear me out in the background. The first one that I suggested was teaching mandala. The second one is healing mandala. What you are doing today is a part of healing mandala. What does it mean? As the word suggests, healing mandala has the objective of it in ensuring that this piece of work that you are creating is so intricate and so mindful that it doesn't allow you to enter into any other world. At the same time, all the things that you do here is so full of life and so full of positivity that every time you take shelter in it, it always makes you feel that there is so much more meaning associated, so much more to know about life, that you actually end up not letting anything disturb you to a great extent. You do get a lot of optimism, you do get a lot of energy out of it. You get a sense of hope out of it. I have seen in my career, I have seen wonders happen with people who have been practicing it for quite some time. It does give you a great sense of increased patience and concentration, and it does leave you in a state where you question things, where you seek for answers, and a very mindful way of living actually. There are further segregations of healing mandala that I will talk about in just a while. The third one is sand mandala, S-A-N-D, sand. As the word suggests, sand mandala is all about creating huge pieces of mandala using colored sand. This process is a sacred process which is done only by Buddhist monks in large groups, and it takes somewhere around 50 to 60 hours to complete one piece. And upon completion, they completely erase the entire piece. And it is done in order to understand, comprehend, and to make others understand the importance of impermanence or the meaning of impermanence. So this is the three broad segregation of mandala. And if you have noticed, one entire section has been dedicated to healing mandala. All the kinds of mandala that you see out there, be it the moon mandala, the sun mandala, geometric mandala, ornate mandala, birds mandala, animals mandala, wolf mandala, and so on and so forth. All of these things are just variations of your healing mandala. All of these things come with some other characteristic, but at the end, what matters the most is how your journey has been. Have you enjoyed the process of creation? Has it made you a little calmer or not? This is what it matters. Once we have done till here, what we will do is we will take the outer section, and I'm going to darken this one because we will use this area now. By now, you would have understood why I told you not to let any other thought enter your mind while we are working on this piece today. Once you have done till here, what you will do is take the center point, mark it here, take the center point, make one petal, and this 3 petals on one side, so 3 petals on the other side also. Once you do that, do just a bit of fine tuning here. You can do it in the entire section also, or you could do it at a few sections also, like 4 sections. Both are fine. It is upon you how intricate you want your work to be. Whatever you do a repetition of that everywhere. Is this the only way we could have proceeded? No. This is one of the 1,000 ways in which we could have proceeded. So far, all the things that we have used are dependent only on the fundamental patterns that we learned in the beginning. That's all that we have used so far. I'm marking the dot again. One petal. You can use lines. That's what you are doing right now. All the things that you have done so far are based on whatever fundamental patterns you learned in the beginning. Nothing other than that. There are more fundamental patterns, of course. There are more meanings associated. There are more ways of going about it. But considering the time constraint, we will be able to cover this much today. And if you all have any questions, you can drop it in the chat box. We can continue making this as intricate as we wish. We haven't used a spiral anywhere so far, so we will use that as well. In this semicircle that you have made, curve, and convert that into a spiral. Once you do that, so basically curve, convert that into a spiral. And once you do that, connect this from the other side. See, just connect. Shade the rest of the area. Everybody, I would need your attention once. See, curve, convert into a spiral, and connect, shade the background. Convert into a spiral and connect, shade the background. So what you are doing right now is you are taking inspiration from the fundamental pattern and you are converting that into a design. You are using a combination of these designs to make your entire mandala. We could have used the opposite sides as well. Both are fine. It is dependent on the artist, what they wish to do. In the central part, so in the central part, what we will do is divide it into two sections. In one section, make a few more divisions. Here also, a few more divisions. And on the other side, a lotus. Shade the background. Do the same thing on the other side also. You can also make a few patterns here since this looks a little empty to me right now. You may choose to do something more intricate also. You may choose to keep it a little open also. Both are fine. However, one thing that I would like to do is adding another double line in this portion in the background so that this looks like a layer and not just a random space. A few areas of fine tuning if you wish. So here we have finished off our work. And if you all have questions, you can ask now. So for all the questions, I'll be here. Anushka, Tanya, now I'm handing over the session to you. So we have finished off the work and we can take the questions now and they can also click a screenshot of the same. Richa, I'll write it down in the chat box.
So guys, how was the session till now? I hope each and every person present here enjoyed the workshop to the fullest.